I don't know if I'm
All
hooked. But go ahead.
right, good deal. All right. So,
All right,
floor
cool.
is yours, brother.
So
Thank you.
no doubt, appreciate you. So yeah, we'll go through top to bottom underwriting, keeping it simple. And like Dom said, it's about like underwriting. What you'll learn is such a massive way to establish credibility with clients. Like when you communicate their health stuff and you can like navigate underwriting quickly and simply, that's how people feel that they're in the right hands, right? And that you're the professional that's there to take care of them. When you can, like we were kind of talking about yesterday, when you can finish the names of prescriptions, when you can kind of match like what prescriptions conditions are for, stuff like that, they feel like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's done this before. I'm in good hands. So I mean, of course, starting from the very beginning, like understand that underwriting is something that 100% takes experience. So the biggest thing is to just talk to a lot of people, right? Like, the more people you talk to, the more health situations you come across, the faster you will pick this stuff up. So I'm going to go through a couple things to just try to shorten the learning curve and try to keep it as simple as possible. But just know, like anything that I talk about, I mean, I've been doing this thing for dang near 5 years now. You know what I mean? So I've seen every medical condition, I've seen every prescription, every situation you can think of. And so, the faster you can just blast through talking to a bunch of people and getting the names of a bunch of prescriptions and doing a bunch of underwriting, the quicker you'll pick this stuff up. But hopefully this kind of can help shorten some learning curve stuff. So I'm going to go kind of top to bottom of, we going through when we've gone through the intro part of the script. We're starting to fill out the financial inventory with the health stuff and then getting into like actually finding the plan that's best for them. But again, just to like take it all the way back to the beginning, like if you're brand new on here, we're brokers, right? So we have access to a bunch of different insurance carriers. They just all have different things that they accept in terms of like age, health, prescriptions. And so our job is to help them get matched up with the plan that's best for them. I frame this thing to clients like I'm the Expedia of life insurance, right? So when you're on Expedia, you type in where you're going, you know, where you're flying from and your destination, and it tells you all the different carriers or the different airlines from cheapest to most expensive, right? That's what we do, but for life insurance. And so that's how I like explain it to the client to keep it simple. But the way that we can get those, hey, cheapest to most expensive, the way we can even get that list is by asking really good health questions and then finding, hey, this is based on what you told me, this is the company that's most likely to accept you. So now it's time to look at different size plans and you pick the one that you feel, meets your budget and your needs. So first off, starting with framing it, like letting them know what we're going to be doing, which we do in the structure when we go through structure of the script, right? So we tell them, um, like, hey, Donovan, all insurance state regulated. So there's all these different companies I have access to. They all pretty much do the same thing and are priced the same. They only vary like $2 to $5 per company. But all these different companies just have different things they accept in terms of age, health, and medication. So that's where I'm useful to you, right? So I'll handpick the couple companies that are the best fit for you. That saves you time from having to shop around all over the place. So we frame us asking these health questions to let them know, like, if you were to do this on your own, you might send in 75 different applications before you can get one to stick. My job is to help save you time and narrow down the company that you're most likely to get approved with that'll also give you the lowest rate, right? So it frames you as like when you frame it the right way, you'll have a lot of people that'll be like, oh, thank you. Like all this work of having to find a company is now taken off my plate. This guy's just going to ask me a couple questions and he's going to get me matched up with what's best, right? Like you don't like a lot of times when clients, if they haven't done it before, buying insurance can feel overwhelming if you don't know, right? And so it's on us to like kind of alleviate that, like, hey, I'm going to go through these questions. It's not to be nosy, but it's just to help you get matched up with the company that's the best fit for you because they all have different things they accept in terms of age, health, medication, so on and so forth. So we let them know that, right? We frame it. Then when we get to that part of the actual client worksheet. I'm just going to kind of go through how I ask the health questions. And the reason that we ask health questions this way is that, again, we kind of touched on it yesterday, but if you just say, okay, Garrick, name me all of your medical conditions, or name me your prescriptions, or do you have anything wrong with you in terms of your health? Like that's too general, right? And you're not going to get good answers. And so the more specific we can get, the more information we can get about their health, the better we can get them matched up with the plan the first try. That's the best fit. Not that having a decline is the end of the world, like it's going to happen. But the more you can apply for the carrier that they're actually going to get approved with the first try, the more likely that deal is going to stick, right? So here's how I ask health questions. I think of asking health questions as start with the major stuff, like check the big boxes first, and then get more specific as we go. So, all right, Donovan. So, in terms of your health, do you have any heart, liver, kidney, or lung conditions? Any heart, liver, kidney, or lung conditions? I'm getting the big general stuff. Okay, and now anything like with any of your kidneys, any major organs, like anything like that. Have you ever had any forms of cancer? Right? So the big, mostly like knockout stuff from getting approved with most carriers, I want to find that out first. And then we get more specific after that. Okay. So have you ever had any heart attacks or strokes? Um, do you take anything for high blood pressure or diabetes? So part of what I'm going to go through is also kind of like the common stuff. So there's a lot of medical conditions that you're going to see that are just very common, right? You'll see them quite a bit. And so we just want to ask those first because those are like the most likely ones that somebody's going to have. So high blood pressure, diabetes, very common. So do you take anything for high blood pressure? Do you have any sort of diabetes? Um, and then, so heart attack, strokes, forms of cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes. And then, assuming they didn't say anything like liver, kidneys, lungs, like lungs is mainly like asthma, COPD. Then I get into like, okay, anything psych related. Like, do you take anything for anxiety, depression, PTSD? So you see, and again, on that client worksheet, it has a lot of those conditions. So you kind of like name off some of the major conditions to get to kind of jog their memory or get them to start talking about something that they may have. Um, Now, once you get all of the conditions, the big question that I added in a few years ago that I was missing a lot is like when we submit an application for insurance, they're not just looking at what somebody has now or what prescriptions they take now, but what their medical history is. So once you get a good idea of what conditions that they have, you then want to make sure you ask, okay, now have you ever had anything in the past that you either used to take prescriptions for or have since been cured from? Right? So get a list of all conditions, current, and then go, okay, anything in the past, anything you used to have that you used to take prescriptions for or you have since been cured from. It's a big one. Um, and once you feel you have a now this is just the way I do it. Once I have a good feel for the actual conditions, then I get into prescriptions. Okay. And let me see. And by the way, make sure I'm going the right place here. Yeah. Okay, cool. So on the agent handbook underwriting, I go through, I did a video on it and that kind of goes through all things underwriting. It's page 29 of the handbook. Okay. And then page 30 is a list of common conditions and the common medications that are associated with it. So I'll go through some of the tools that we use. Like once we get the list of all the stuff, there's some tools that you'll plug the information you received into to find which carriers may accept the stuff that they have, right? But right now we're still, taking notes in the financial inventory, just asking the questions. Um, But once I get all the conditions, I then get the prescriptions associated with that. So I'll go back up. Okay, Okay, Garrick, you said you have diabetes. Now, for diabetes, do you take pills or insulin or both? Right? Pills, insulin, or both? Because for some carriers that matters. And then the next question, so just take a note of this. Anytime you have somebody that has diabetes, ask, do you take pills or insulin or both? And then you want to make sure you ask, do you have complications associated with diabetes, like neuropathy, retinopathy, anything like that? Um, I'm not going to go through every medical condition, but there are just some common ones that you'll come across a lot that you just want to make sure you dig a little bit deeper on because it'll matter in terms of what carrier they have. So if you only got that they have diabetes, you might miss some complications associated with diabetes if you don't ask. So any neuropathy, retinopathy, anything like that. Um, Most likely if they have diabetes, they take some for blood pressure. And then the other thing is like, and again, it's on the client worksheet, I think what, page 23. The other thing to make sure is once you have all of your conditions, get a timeline on when they've had those conditions, right? So right here, timeline on other health issues. So if they say they've had diabetes, a lot of applications will ask just roughly when was that diagnosed. If they've had a heart attack, when was that heart attack? If they had cancer in the past, when was the last time you were treated for that cancer? So again, just kind of like moving along here, get all the conditions, present and past, then get all the prescriptions associated with those conditions, then get the timeline for the condition. So either when they had the stroke, when they had the heart attack, when they were last treated for cancer, or like for the diabetes and some stuff, when they were first diagnosed with it. Because if you go into the Americo application, like if you do a Eagle Select application, pretty much any medical condition that you check the box for, they're then going to ask, when was it diagnosed? So you might as well just get it now, right? So conditions, prescriptions, and then dates and timelines on those conditions. Does that make sense? Um, I would have this if you're new. I would have these top conditions and drugs like just saved as a tab on your computer. Um, because when you ask somebody about diabetes and they start saying like, I don't know what just happened there. Yeah, I take a metformin. Yes, like you know what I mean? When you already have it in front of you and you can finish their sentence or what they're trying to say with the condition, that's what I mean by I know it seems little, but like trust me, it establishes credibility when you know what you're talking about, or you can finish the names of conditions and prescriptions, right? So just have this up. This will help you with the spelling or what they're trying to say. If you hear them like trying to say, metoprolol, you know what I mean? So like when you can just say it, it'll help. And then you already have it in front of you for when you do your underwriting, when you go to find the carrier, you can see the name and the proper spelling. So this is just a helpful guide of like, hey, here's for the most of the conditions that you're going to see, here are the common prescriptions that are associated with it. All right, so we got conditions, prescriptions associated with it, and then the dates or the timeline on those conditions. So you wrote that all down. Um, you got a good idea of okay, this is where this person's at. This is the stuff they have going on. It's then time to find the carrier, right? Now we got to find which carrier they're most likely to qualify for. Shouldn't have stopped sharing my screen. So, couple different tools, right? And I know that, I'm not going to go through the Life Center because I've played around with it, but I don't use that yet. So if you do use Life Center, keep doing that. I'm sure it's helpful, but this is my process. This is what I do for underwriting. So that's what I'm going to go through with you guys. So we have two tools, right? There's some cheat sheets, and then there's a tool called Insurance Toolkits. Um, what the cheat sheet is this is a grid. Let me see what you guys are seeing. So share. This is a grid that goes through our common carriers, right? And then common conditions. So it's kind of, you just kind of cross-reference some condition that they say and whether or not a carrier may accept it, right? So for example, if somebody says that they have arthritis and, we're looking at Americo, this kind of tells you maybe some additional questions that you may need to ask of whether or not arthritis may be accepted. And this is for term slash universal life. And then there's a separate one for whole life. So have this up, just I just have these, as me and Jason are the same. We have like 75 tabs open on our computers. Like this is one of the ones that I have up, right? Just while I'm on the phone, while I'm asking the health questions, I'm just kind of looking at this. If they give me a name of a condition, and I can kind of see what are some other questions that I may need to ask to determine, if a carrier may or may not accept it, right? Especially if like the kind of like what Dom was saying, like we generally speaking want to, rule out Americo, if you will. Like I'm always, every time I have somebody on the phone, I'm just thinking like, okay, most likely I want to write them Americo. So I'm kind of underwriting to see whether or not they get approved with Americo. And if not, then find the next best option. That's especially if you're brand new, like keep it super simple for yourself. Think like, let's see if I can get them Americo. That's how you'll underwrite, right? If it will this person get approved with Americo? If not, then what's their next best option? So I'm kind of looking at this Americo column and seeing whether or not any of the conditions that they have told me can get approved there. So that's the cheat sheets. And then the next thing is insurance toolkits. So this is a super helpful way, and you'll learn a ton about the names of, or yeah, the different prescriptions, some other questions to ask the client based on what they have going on. So again, have this tab pulled up. Once you have all their conditions, then you want to just start typing them in, right? So you put in, and just by the way, like I always have, if somebody is generally speaking like 50 plus and got some stuff going on with their health, we're going to look at the FEX, right? If they're, 60 younger and then you don't really have maybe some blood pressure or they don't really have much going on, you then can maybe look at term, and term is underwritten the same as whole life, or I'm sorry, as universal life. So if you're looking at, universal versus term, you just check the term drop down to do it there. But most likely, if some people got some stuff going on in their health, we're going to be looking at the FEX tab, right? Which is to find a whole life plan. All right, so we're on the FEX tab, put in the amount of coverage, gender, state they're in, date of birth, and then whether or not they smoke. So those are pretty much the client stuff that you're going to fill out. And then now that we have our list of medical conditions, I'm going to start going through, I'm going to start putting them in, right? So they said they have diabetes. I already asked them, do you have any complications? Let's say they said no. And then look, this will kind of tell you, what additional questions to ask. So when they were last treated, obviously going to be like today, when you were first diagnosed with it. Let's say it was 2004. Do you use insulin? No. Has the diabetes been uncontrolled in the past 10 years? Let's call it no, it's under control. Do you have any changes to your medications at all? Like, have they given you anything new, or has it been the same stuff the whole time? Let's say it's always been the same. Are you taking three or more medications? Um, no. And what was your A1C? Is it typically less than 8% or over 8%? Let's say it's less than 8%. Yes. Boom. Okay. So then that starts to tell us what carriers, most likely will get approved for, from lowest to most expensive. So you just keep typing in each medical condition that you have. Kind of next step, once you get good at this, like once you kind of get quick at asking the questions and having this pulled on your computer, like I now type this in as I'm talking to them. So like whatever they say to me, I make a quick note of it. and then I type it in right there on the spot. So, whatever you want to do, but I would say if you're brand new for now, probably just get a list of everything and then start to put it into toolkits. Um, I've had some people ask me before, like, I feel like this takes a long time, or I feel like I'm really slow, or like typing into toolkits kind of slows things down. And what I would say is, don't worry about it and I use what I'm doing on my computer as a way to like legitimize the fact that I'm shopping around for them. Right. So, all right, Kelly, I appreciate you letting me know all that. So what I'm going to do, I'll keep you on the phone here, but I'm just going to start putting this stuff into my system. And once I type in everything you told me into my system, it's actually going to tell me the carrier that you're most likely to get approved with at the lowest rate. So just bear with me a sec as I punch this stuff in. Like, you know what I mean? We've all been on the phone with somebody on customer service or bought something on the phone, and we've waited on them to like put stuff in their system, right? So don't feel rushed or feel like you have to like go on to the next part after you've gotten all their medical conditions. Like it's okay to slow things down a little bit here and put in all this stuff and maybe ask some additional questions about what they have going on based on what toolkits is telling you. Does that make sense? So I first and foremost recommend that maybe tonight, if you haven't played around with this, like get comfortable with this like system, so by the time you do get somebody on the phone, it's not the first time you've looked at it. But when you do have somebody on the phone, it's okay to like take a second and put in all this stuff and kind of slow things down. Um, so yeah, so once you have the everything typed in terms of conditions, prescriptions, it'll narrow a lot of stuff down, and then we know like the carriers that you can go from cheapest to most expensive. Now, I just want to make one thing clear. Um, we're going to go over some more product stuff in a couple of days here, but like I don't even know who Sentinel Security Life is, so don't worry so much about the carriers that it's telling you. Like go with what you have, right? I don't know who Sentinel Security Life is. I never write Aflac. Um, like in this scenario, this specific scenario, if they just have diabetes, they would still qualify for Americo Eagle Select. Does that make sense? And so I would, even though it doesn't, I know this is kind of confusing, but bear with me. But like, even though it doesn't go on here, I would still start with Americo, and then use this as like, what carrier would I go to next if that one doesn't get approved, right? For some reason, this system, like if you just type in one
Correct.
thing, it kicks Americo out. So yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Apologies.
That tool isn't really updated with the select product.
There we go. That's what it is.
Yeah. Select is different, and that's why if you're looking at Eagle Premier, it's really a combination type thing. If you see on the grid, it will, like if you go to congestive heart failure on the grid, it will say Americo decline. That's not true anymore. Okay, because this is a new product. So this is the thing about insurance, you guys got to bear with the companies and with technology and bear with agent guides because sometimes we're 90, 120 days behind the product coming out with the grids that you're looking at.
Yep.
And then in toolkits isn't integrated with the new product yet. So I'm happy you brought that up. All right, because now eventually it will be, you guys, but we're at a weird spot right now with the new product and everything.
Yeah,
So
yes, thank you. Because I meant to say it in the beginning. Underwriting it's not a perfect science. You know what I mean? Like, and plus, we don't actually know what somebody has going on in their health. They can very much, like, it's very common. People will not tell you things or forget about things or whatever. So, like, don't take this as like you have to be perfect. This is just about doing the best that you possibly can to ask good
yes.
questions, to get as much information out of them as possible, to try as best as possible to find the best plan the first try. But I still get people declined every week, you know what I mean? And need to pivot. And that's probably a whole nother training that we'll go through is how to do a pivot. But I just kind of want to give
Yes,
you
we will.
stuff.
Yes, we will.
You know what I mean? I just kind of want to give you some stuff as like a,
Hey,
hey, here's some ways to ask better questions, to dig deeper, to do this stuff faster, to get more information, to try our best to find the best plan.
Hey, I got a question based off that from like a real
hey, dude. Yeah.
application I wrote a while back. So Jason actually helped me out with this one a while back, but using that cheat sheet, I'm new, so I still assume write Americo first. But on that cheat sheet, it says COPD decline. So then I ended up writing him with the
That's what I
Mutual of
just said.
Omaha. Yeah, I wrote him with that, and then Jason, he helped me out. He was like, "You can get this guy a better price on an immediate deal, or like on a instantly or not a graded policy with America Eagle Select 2, and I just didn't know
Yep.
that. So is there a way I can find out if somebody's good with Select 2 specifically?
Well, dude,
Run it.
that's kind of what I was saying earlier is now you know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
yeah, I learned from
the
that, but
it doesn't populate on toolkits and the cheat sheets are a few years old. So somebody being able to get approved Eagle Select 2 with COPD, like that's now in your internal underwriting. So when somebody says
yeah,
COPD, assuming they don't have a bunch of other crazy stuff going on, you're still thinking, all right, I should be good for American Eagle Select 2. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
with
That's why
that in
it's like I'm
hindsight,
I'm doing this training to try to help shorten the learning curve. But again, Donovan, going back to what I said, so much of underwriting is just talking with people and experience. And don't like you got that person didn't get the absolute best plan they could have gotten the first try. That's okay because now you're going to be better for the next 150 people you talk to.
okay,
That makes sense? Like
yeah,
Kelly,
yeah, go ahead, Dom.
hold on. Weren't we talking about that this morning?
We were absolutely being better for the people going forward. You make your mistakes, you learn what you're doing, and then for the people in the future, you know what to do going forward.
Dude, Bryce, my analogy was, dude, I had chemotherapy and all this type of stuff. And I know back in the 30s and 40s when they were testing it, a lot of people died. A lot of people died. A lot of people didn't survive. But the people were down for the cause to figure it out. And the doctors were down for the cause to figure it out. So that my ass in 2011, when I was diagnosed, that I had a cure. Make sense? And these are the price we have to pay to make an impact. So you're not going to avoid the price, dude. Donovan, that's the price you pay. It's a small price. Make
okay,
sense? Small price if you capitalize and help more people and use it. But if we dwell on what we lost versus looking at what we gained, that's yeah, make sense? Like that's the difference. You know what I mean? So I'm very thankful that doctors and things like they did it. Makes sense because if everybody was like, "No, I don't want to, man. What if we kill them? What if they die?" We'll be like, "Well, shit. That means everybody's gonna die, dude.
yeah,
Everybody's gonna die. So we're gonna have to kill some and lose some in order for make sense. Got to
hmm,
look at yourself as you're the doctor and you're finding the cure for your family's financial future.
okay.
And on the way to that, some people are gonna die.
That's
You're
okay. I
gonna
went
make some
back and saved this
mistakes.
guy anyway, so
But if your heart's yeah, all good, dude. But if your heart's in the right place, be clear. You're gonna have way more. You're gonna make, dude. I'm still making mistakes today, 14 years in. Then I'm like, oof, yeah, that one. All right,
yeah.
cool. Makes sense. Bryce, I got a question for you, bro. Um, how do you deal with the? I struggled a lot with the healthy client. Like I honestly, I thought everybody was healthy, and then they would get declined. Okay, how do I get better at asking those questions? Because I found myself very frustrated, and I thought like the clients are lying to me, and da 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 da. But now I'm on this side of the business, and I'm like, dude, that doesn't really happen to me no more. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like clients are lying to me anymore or anything like that. I don't, you know. So how do we get there? How do you go from everybody's healthy and they're getting declined to shoot, I'm just properly underwriting and doesn't mean everybody's healthy or not. Makes sense? Like
Mhm.
how do I get from there to there?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that is like, you can kind of tell when somebody is saying the right things to get the call moved along versus legitimately answering your questions and giving you real reasons. You know what I mean? And so if somebody early on is being short with me or not really answering my questions about who their beneficiary is or what they're looking to accomplish, like if they're just kind of giving me one answers and then by the time we get to health, no, I'm healthy, I don't take anything. I don't believe that guy at all. Does that make sense? Now, if I'm talking to a 43-year-old that tells me like, yeah, I'm a police officer, I run every day, you know, I've played college football. Like I believe that guy when he says, no, I really don't take anything in terms of my health. So if you're 72, you've been retired for 23 years, you are receiving a disability income, but you're telling me you're in perfect health, I don't believe you. You know what I mean? So like you kind of just gotta gauge who it is you're talking to. If if some if somebody doesn't
The reason I laugh, Bryce, is because when you say it out loud, like I laugh because when you say it out loud, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh God, dude, yeah, they're 72, but you just have to read. You have to read. So you got it, dude. But that was great.
Yep.
What's
I mean,
what's the next thing? I'm sorry.
no, you're
What's
good. I mean, dude, I would honestly just, it's pretty fair to assume that anybody over 50 is taking something. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
if they're not, be like, dang, dude,
right?
what do you do? Like, that's impressive. Like I don't ever talk to anybody over 50 that isn't at least on like a high blood pressure. Like you've never had anything. So just dig a little bit deeper, you know? And if they're not, then
And when you say it like that, and when you say it like that, like, hey, damn, man, that's kind of crazy, dude. I'm trying to be like you when I get older. I mean, like you never took in anything. Next thing you know, they come out with, well, man, I used to take some blood pressure medications, back in the, oh, I do take some things that are no big deal, that are big deal to us as underwriters, may be freaking on a level -1 in their life of importance. They've been taking.
I think we might have just lost them. But like again, just and the reason I can confidently say like I've talked with thousands of clients and I can probably count on one hand the amount of clients over 50 that either never have or don't take anything. So if you're new and you haven't talked with thousands of clients, just like assume if they fill out our form, they're over 50, they're probably taking something. You know what I mean? And be kind of surprised or, whatever if they're not. Um, Cholesterol, blood pressure, asthma, anxiety, pain medication from past surgery, like there's something. And then again, a big one to hit on if they're not taking anything or if it seems too good to be true. What about in the past? Has there ever been anything that you ever taken in the past that you just no longer take, refuse to take, or since been cured from? And that question alone will dig up a lot of stuff. So ask about stuff in the past. Um, they filled it out because it says no medical. Yeah, again, the majority of our clients are getting this type of insurance because they don't have to go get nurse, do a nurse, blood, urine, all that type of stuff because they know that they wouldn't get insurance if that was the case, right? So fair to assume that. All right, cool. I know we're running over, so I appreciate you guys. I guess real quick, any questions about anything underwriting before we wrap it up? And there's no stupid question because this is I know it's a lot. All right, cool. We'll keep it moving. Appreciate you all jumping on. We'll see you back on this training on Thursday, and everybody keep crushing it.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you. See ya.